What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. Going to be talking about UFC Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Gamrot, and this is a beautiful card to lead up to before UFC 276, which is in the weekend after. But coming up this weekend is Tsarukyan versus Gamrot. This is a great main event in my opinion. I'm on Tsarukyan, potentially the future of the lightweight division. Gamrot as well, a little bit older, but potentially the future of the lightweight division as well. Great clash at the top, as always on BetUS. If you sign up using my link in the description below, you get a 125% sign up bonus. Now let's not waste any more time, let's get straight into the predictions and the breakdowns. And in the first fight of the night, and this is the third time that I'm recording this video, which is a pain, but it is what it is. We've got Jinh Yu Frey versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Jinh Yu Frey, even at minus 260, is a little bit too wide of a favourite. You know, she opened up or ended up at one point like over more than minus 300, which is crazy in this one here. I feel like the fight is a lot more evenly lined than that. I don't really know why the odds makers lined Jinh Yu Frey at minus 300. I feel like it's an unplayable line for a fight like this, but hey, it is what it is. Jinh Yu Frey, 37 years old. Pretty big red flag there, I guess, but I am picking her to win here. She does have the wrestling advantage. You know, she's got the striking advantage as well. Vanessa Demopoulos on the feet is pretty wild. She's pretty sloppy, not necessarily in a good way. And then even then, when Jinh Yu Frey, I think, is going to be looking to take the fight to the ground, which is where Vanessa Demopoulos wants it. But in women's MMA, control time is everything. And if Jinh Yu Frey is on top of Vanessa Demopoulos, she's going to be scoring points. She's going to be earning rounds, you know what I mean? I feel like Jinh Yu Frey should win a decision in this one here, but Vanessa Demopoulos pretty live for a submission, maybe off the back, potentially. Maybe she gets a takedown of her own and ends up on top to try and use her jiu-jitsu game there, because that is where she has the advantage. I do believe Demopoulos has the better pure jiu-jitsu, but I think Jinh Yu Frey's got the better striking and the wrestling, and I will be going with Jinh Yu Frey to win a decision on this one here. Maybe Demopoulos could manage to get a finish at some point. I mean, she got knocked out pretty much by Silvana Gomez Juarez and got a submission there. So, hey, good for her. But I will be going with Jinh Yu Frey to win a decision in the first fight of the night. And in the second fight of the night, man, we've got a pretty good scrap between Mario Batista and Brian Kelleher. Brian Kelleher always comes to brawl. He won his UFC debut as a plus 300 underdog, which I think is pretty respectable, especially considering the fact that he beat a Brazilian guy in Brazil in the first round. But moving on from that, that's got nothing really to do with the breakdown. That was a few years ago now. I'm picking Mario Batista. It's pretty hard for me because I do really like Brian Kelleher. I did pick him to lose against Umar Nurmagomedov, but I picked him to win against Kevin Croom. I picked him to win against Domingo Pilate. I don't think I had a YouTube channel when he fought Ricky Simone, but the point is, you know, I'm pretty good on Brian Kelleher predictions, and I'm not predicting him to win this one here. It does suck to say, but I feel like, you know, the size advantage for Mario Batista here will play a part, but also, I would say recently Brian Kelleher has started to look very slow, you know, like he had a really good performance against Domingo Pilate, but even when he fought Kevin Croom only 4 months ago, I thought he looked pretty slow. I thought he didn't really look as impressive as he should against a guy like Kevin Croom. And then he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov in the first rounds. I mean, it is what it is, you know. I don't really know what else anyone expected, unfortunately. Sorry, Brian, but hey, it is what it is. And then Mario Batista, you know, he's got a couple of impressive wins. You know, he beat Miles Jones. He took the O off Miles Jones, but Miles Jones has recently lost again. But then he lost to Trevin Jones. And then there was a few ifs and buts about 3 months ago when he fought Jay Perrin. That was a short notice replacement there, and he didn't look too incredible against Jay Perrin. In my opinion, but he got the job done. He did what he had to do to win, and he had a somewhat impressive performance there over a guy that did take the fight on 3 months' notice. But Jay Perrin had a pretty good showing as well for a guy that took it on a short notice as he did. The fight's at bantamweight as well, which potentially could, at this point, actually favour Bautista, because Brian Kelleher's been fighting a lot at featherweight recently. It's almost like he doesn't like to cut the weight anymore. It's like he doesn't want to fight at bantamweight anymore. He doesn't want to cut the weight. So I would say that potentially does benefit Mario Batista here. I think he is just a little bit too big for Kelleher. Kelleher relies a lot on that left hook as well, and I think Batista should win a decision in this fight here. And now moving on, we've got Cody Durden and JP Bays, and oh man, I'm picking Cody Durden here. JP Bays is flipped. The line has flipped on Tapology for JP to be the favourite, which is interesting. So I've got an underdog picking Cody Durden here. Interesting, you know, JP Bays, he's fought in the UFC twice, and I think he's got knocked down 7 times in those 2 UFC fights, and he's taking a lot of damage, man. You know, especially in his personal life as well. Like, I'm really sorry, JP, about what happened to him, because that is tragic. It sucks, you know. Cheyenne, if you guys don't know the story, Cheyenne Bays' wife, well, not his wife anymore, was sleeping around with some other dude. So hey, and that man happens to be Roman Dolidze, who won last weekend. So JP Bays is fighting for everything, man. JP Bays is fighting for it all, and I feel like maybe that is potentially a motivator for him. You know, he's going down to 125 after he took that short notice fight against Montel Jackson. In my opinion, I said it at the time when I did my predictions, that was a really bad career move because he wasn't going to beat Montel Jackson on short notice. And even then, he got knocked down, I believe, 3 times by Bruno Silva. Knocked out in the end in the second round, I think that was. But before that, you know, he beat a guy on the Dana White's Contender Series and a couple guys on the regional scene. But Cody Durden, I don't think he's that bad. You know, there is an argument to be made that he did lose to Oyori Kaling, though, to be fair. But he's got good wrestling. That's kind of what he relies on. He's a pretty unlikable character as well, to be fair. But he lost to Muhammad Mahayev really early on, got knocked down, got submitted after that, really. He lost to Jimmy Flick, who I don't even know if he's in the UFC anymore, if he's still fighting. But and then, the draw, Chris Gutierrez, he showed up in that fight a couple of years ago and he had a pretty good performance. But I'm picking Cody Durden. It's hard to say because JP Bays is a good jiu-jitsu artist. I know a lot of people have been commenting saying that JP Bays has been making a lot of big improvements. He's been training a lot harder. I mean, obviously now he's going to have a lot more free time. I don't know if that's a good thing though, but he's going to have a lot more free time, you know, to be training, to be focusing on himself. And hopefully, man, I'm really, really hoping JP Bays wins this one, man. But my pick is Cody Durden as an underdog at the moment. I don't know how accurate that line is, but I am picking Durden. So is the majority of Tapology, actually, to my surprise. But it's just the fact that JP's taken so much damage. You know, he hasn't looked too good in the UFC, and that's just the truth of it. He got knocked down, I think, 3 times by Bruno Silva, knocked down 4 times by Montel Jackson. I mean, the dude can take damage, but that's the problem. He's taking so much damage. And Cody Durden, you know, he's not really going to do the damage on the feet. He's going to be looking to wrestle with JP. And maybe that's where JP wants it, being the jiu-jitsu artist. But I think that Cody Durden's going to be able to use that wrestling and put on a good show. And I do think he will beat JP Bays by decision. And I hope JP wins, though, man. I really do. I really hope JP wins. Alright, and moving on, man, we've got Halion Paiva versus Sergey Morozov. I think this is the hardest fight to predict on the whole card. Not an easy fight to predict at all, in my opinion, either. Like, Halion Paiva, really good striker, pretty good stand-up artist. You know, he's got a few finishes in the UFC on the feet. Sergey Morozov, not necessarily had the most successful UFC career so far. He has gone 1-2. He lost to Umar Nurmagomedov in the debut. Went to the second round, though. Beat Kali Taha, in a pretty impressive performance then. You know, he took a bit of damage in that second round against Douglas Silva de Andrade, but that was a really good fight for de Andrade, you know. Sergey Morozov knocked him down, pretty much got a 10-8 round, did get a 10-8 round against him, and then in the second round, de Andrade showed up, man, and he got the finish. So, unfortunate loss for Sergey Morozov, and he is taking a pretty quick turnaround, only 3 months after the first fight, but Halion Paiva, you know, recently he also got knocked out by Sean O'Malley, but that was 6 months ago, so he's taken a very in my opinion, respectable amount of time off, the amount of time off that he should. And I believe in that time he probably has filled out to be 135 pounds sort of size, because I personally do believe that he's probably better off being a 125 pound fighter, but obviously maybe he was having some problems there, or maybe just prefers to fight at 135 after that controversial Kyler Phillips win. But the thing with Halion Paiva is, you know, he's not that big. I mean, he's 5'8", so he's taller, but he's still quite small. You know, I think maybe the frame has changed a bit, but the frame in the Sean O'Malley fight and the frame in the Kyler Phillips fight really represented a guy that should be fighting in a lower weight class, in my opinion. So I'm going with the favourite, and Sergey Morozov. Not a lot of confidence whatsoever, because Halion Paiva is really good. He's got a good record. You know, I mean, he's only 26 years old. He's had 25 fights. That's pretty cool. Like, Sergey Morozov is 33 years old. He's just got more to lose. It's hard to predict this fight, in my opinion. I obviously don't really have a good read on it, but I will be going with Sergey Morozov to win. I think he's just a little bit more well-rounded. But Paiva has really good takedown defense. He is training out Team Alpha Male at the moment as well. So a lot of good guys in the smaller weight classes there. But I will be going with Morozov with not a lot of confidence. And now moving on, we've got TJ Brown versus Shail Ndembeki. I looked a little bit into Shail Ndembeki because obviously I didn't really know anything about him in my early predictions video, which is crazy because he had 46 fights. But what's so crazy about Shail Ndembeki is this guy got signed to the UFC, and at the time his record was I believe like 20 wins and 7 losses. And then when he ended up getting signed, The record ended up being like 35 wins, 9 losses. So he gained some wins, he gained some losses, which is cool. Complete opposite of what happened to old mate Askar Mozharov, who went from 25-7 to 19-12, I believe. Shaylana went from 20-7 or 19-7 to 35-9, which is pretty impressive, really. But there's a team over at Fight Finder, I believe, that do that check out the records before guys enter a major promotion. And for Shaylana, it kind of worked out in his favor. This guy's experienced. This guy's fought a lot. He's only 28 years old as well. It's so crazy to me. But yeah, I think at this point, he's fighting high level competition, so he's going to be fighting less often. The pick is TJ Brown. TJ Brown had a pretty good performance, in my opinion, against Charles Rosa, but Charles Rosa, I believe, is winless in the UFC, in more recent times anyway. And then Kai Kamaka III, split decision win, very controversial there. But it saved his UFC career. He lost to Jordan Griffin, who's alright, he's pretty good. He lost to Danny Chavez, who's pretty good as well, I guess. And yeah, he's 2-2 in the UFC. Shaylan Nodemiki's 1-1. TJ Brown's on a 2-fight win streak, and I do believe he's going to ride this momentum, man. I do believe he's going to beat Shaylan here, because Nodemiki's going to be looking to get the fight to the ground, but TJ Brown's got pretty good takedown defense. His striking's pretty good as well. I guess the point is I just don't necessarily find a path to victory for Shaylan here. I do believe TJ Brown is going to win this one, and the win over Sean Soriano has aged terribly as well. This is our only win in the UFC, and it has aged really bad because he lost pretty badly to Color Bell, beat Sean Soriano, and then Sean Soriano got cut from the UFC, and then lost to a guy with a 6-6 record. I mean, I like TJ Brown. I think the fight does go the distance, so I'll be going with Brown by decision, unanimous decision, 29-28 or 30-27. Pretty convincing win for him there. The next fight is between Tafon Nchukwi and Carlos Ulberg, and we've got Carlos Ulberg as the favorite here. I said this in my early predictions, I'm going to say it now. I don't really like the odds. I think that Tafon Nchukwi is a super live underdog, and a lot of people are picking Nchukwi, and I can't disagree. I really can't, but I'm picking Carlos Ulberg. When Carlos Ulberg is doing his thing and he's doing it right, he is winning, and that's what matters. I mean, it sounds stupid, but that's kind of true. He coasted to a victory against Fabio Charant, who didn't really do anything 4 months ago. He lost to Kennedy Njoku where he did too much. I mean, he gassed out in the first after throwing an insane amount of volume. I believe that's the top 5 most strikes thrown in the light heavyweight division in a fight, or something like that. And the fight lasted 1.5 rounds. That was a cool fight, but it's just not what you want to see. You don't want to see that loss to Kennedy Njoku. But hey, it is what it is. Carlos Ulberg, he bounced back. I am picking him to win because I'm just going to trust that he's going to keep the distance from Tafon. Tafon could brawl forward and close the distance and do his thing there, because he looked really good actually against Azamat Murzakanov. Like, that was a really good win for Tafon and Nchukwi. Now, Carlos Ulberg, a bit of a different fighter to Azamat Murzakanov. He's taller. I mean, Tafon is 6 foot in the light heavyweight division, so he probably will be fighting a lot of guys that are a bit shorter than him. But Carlos Ulberg 6'4", even reach as well, which is pretty crazy. But I guess just overall, the longer guy is Ulberg. I'm going with Ulberg. As you can tell, I'm not confident, despite the reasons that I'm giving, because Tafon has got such not an easy path to victory, but he's got the path to victory that I can see very clearly. But I do trust Carlos Ulberg to be the better striker, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. I mean, I think it was the MMA Guru that touched on this. A lot of the guys coming out of City Kickboxing, they're a lot older. And the reason is, a lot of the guys from City Kickboxing have already had careers. They've already had careers before MMA. Carlos Ulberg was the New Zealand King of the Ring champion, I believe, twice. He had a pretty good kickboxing career as well. I think he had a Muay Thai career too. And Nchukwi's got Muay Thai as well in his own bag. But I will be going with Ulberg. Jumping on the hype train. I'm from New Zealand. I've got to pick the guy from New Zealand. I don't have to, but I'm choosing to. I'm picking Ulberg to win here. I think he's going to get the job done. Alright, now we've got Chris Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira, and I will be going with Chris Curtis, man. I'm on that hype train. I'm on the hype train of not even a prospect, a veteran, an older guy that made it to the UFC very late in his career. He made the most of it. Took on Phil Hawes on short notice as a big underdog, knocked him out. Took on Brendan Allen. I don't know if this was a short notice fight, but he knocked him out too in the second round after putting on a pretty good performance. And now Rodolfo Vieira. What can I say about this guy? multiple time jiu-jitsu world champion. He's won a few prestigious jiu-jitsu tournaments as well. It's a very good jiu-jitsu artist, and if the fight gets to the ground, potentially Chris Curtis could be in a bit of trouble, but he's a veteran, he's been in these situations. He's able to, I would say, defend some of Vieira's submission attempts, but the thing about Vieira is, he took 3 rounds to finish Dustin Stoltzfus, and Dustin Stoltzfus as well was popping him with shots on the feet as well. He was leaving himself open on the feet, and against a guy like Chris Curtis, who's gonna be looking for the KO, because that is his path to victory, is to knock out Rodolfo Vieira. I don't like that too much, I mean, yes, I did read somewhere where if Rodolfo Vieira beats Anthony Hernandez, then he would be a much bigger favourite in this matchup. And that's kind of true. But that's because we saw Rodolfo Vieira get pieced up on the feet. We saw him gas out after 1 round, He took a bit of time off. He fought Dustin Stoltzfus. And now he's taking even more time off as well. Like, he's not a young guy either. And Chris Curtis, he's going to be looking to take his head off. That's the truth of it. He's going to be looking to rip the body. He will rip the body, sap that cardio. He will go for the head. He will throw some hooks to the head, try and get that KO below. And I think he's going to find it, man. I really do believe Chris Curtis is going to find that KO. Keeps the fight on the feet, plays it smart, and the KO will come. I do think the KO will come. Rodolfo Vieira, his striking leaves a lot to leave desired, but that's because he had a career outside of MMA. He was a brilliant jiu-jitsu player, and now he's coming to MMA. He's picked up striking a bit later on. Chris Curtis, great striker. He's filled out a little bit more for the 185-pound division as well, because if you guys don't know this, Chris Curtis was actually a 170-pound fighter. He was a welterweight, but now that he's in the UFC and he's having success at middleweight, he's going to he's filled out a little bit for the middleweight division. He's ready, he's a middleweight now, and he's not just a welterweight fighter at middleweight. He is a middleweight, and I think he should be able to beat Rodolfo Vieira in this one here. Moving up the card, we've got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Nate Maness, and you know what? This is a pretty exciting fight. Mainly because, I would say, because Umar Nurmagomedov is such an exciting prospect. He's got the wrestling of what you would expect from him. He's got the grappling of what you would expect from him. But the difference is Umar Nurmagomedov's striking is really good. He's a really good striker. In fact, I think I've even seen some people say that Umar Nurmagomedov is a better striker than he is a grappler. I somewhat disagree, but you know what, maybe he could prove it here against Nate Maness, who is a very game opponent. Undefeated in the UFC, 2-0 in the UFC, beat Luke Sanders in his, he's 3-0 in the UFC, beat Johnny Munoz Jr. by decision, which is something that I am concerned about, because Johnny Munoz Jr. has no chin whatsoever, but he beat Luke Sanders by submission, but Luke Sanders, got cut shortly after that, I believe. Beat Tony Gravely by KO. What am I talking about? Tony Gravely is a good opponent too. Tony Gravely is a good wrestler, and he's got a couple of good wins in his career, especially recently as well. His one loss coming to Taylor Lapilus, who's really good. French prospect, I believe, is Taylor Lapilus. I think he's something like 19-3, 18-3 right now, 17-3, like a crazy record now. So he's gone on a win streak since beating Nate Maness as well. So not too bad of a loss there, in my opinion. But Umar Nurmagomedov fought a couple of times in the UFC, crazy odds, beat Sergey Morozov by second round submission, beat Brian Keller by first round submission, quick turnaround. He said that he wants to fight often, and I respect that. He's only 26 years old, and he's good. He's really good. So I'm picking him to beat Nate Maness. I do think he probably will submit Nate Maness as well. I know everyone's probably going with the submission. Yeah, everyone's going with a submission on Tapology, but maybe he could get a KO. I personally don't think so. I think we probably will be seeing a submission win for Umar Nurmagomedov here, but Nate Maness is a game guy, but I just think that Umar Nurmagomedov is just a little bit better, sort of everywhere, in my opinion, So that's kind of what I'm going with, and we'll be going with Umar Nurmagomedov to win inside the distance as well. I think he gets the finish over Nate Maness. In this next fight, we've got Thiago Moises versus Christos Giagos, and in my opinion, this really is a fight that Thiago Moises should win. Christos Giagos, he beats the lower end of the UFC division, but he loses to the higher end of the lower end division. He goes up and down, which is, I think, something that MMA Guru picked out. He fought Charles Oliveira in his debut, and then he beat a couple of guys that are just not that great, and he lost to Drakkar Klose. Carlton Minus, I don't think, is in the UFC anymore. Sean Soriano is not in the UFC anymore. He's not in the UFC anymore, and then he lost to Tsarukyan in his last one. And he also had a cancelled fight with Yoel Alvarez in between. This guy just says yes. He just says yes to any matchup, which is cool. But Thiago Moises, I do believe, should win this one here. He's a borderline ranked opponent. You know, he wasn't actually ranked when he fought Islam Makhachev, but because he took that fight to make Islam Makhachev look a little bit better, they made him like number 14 or something like that. But anyway, he lost to Yoel Alvarez, but Yoel Alvarez is really good. And Yoel Alvarez missed weight for that fight as well. And he lost to Islam Makhachev by submission in the 4th round. He made it to the 4th round of Islam Makhachev, which I guess is something awesome in itself. He beat Alexander Hernandez, beat Bobby Green, submitted Michael Johnson, who's having somewhat of a weird like career resurgence, sort of. But Christos Giagos, in my opinion, I just don't really know what he brings to the table that can beat Thiago Moises. I know that sounds pretty disrespectful, but Thiago Moises is a good prospect. He's only 27 years old. You know, I feel like he's got a little bit more time to develop before he needs to make that big top 15 run, top 5, top 10 run, you know what I mean, to be a staple in the division. I think that, you know what, he can spend a couple of years or a year and a half or so fighting the guys that are unranked and building his way back up to the top 15, because he got a massive opportunity in Islam Makhachev. Didn't get it there, didn't get it against Yoel Alvarez, but I think it's now time that he's going to turn it around, and I think he's going to submit Christos Giagos with something weird like a leg lock, like he did, ankle lock like he did Michael Johnson, but something like a leg lock, something like that. And yeah, I'm picking Moises by submission in this one here. I do believe he should be able to beat Giagos, and it's a pretty confident pick for me as well. The next matchup, we've got Josh Parisian versus Alan Baudot. And I think I originally picked Josh Parisian. I'm not picking Josh Parisian. I'm picking Alan Baudot to win this one here. Now, what's so crazy though is this fight is so high up on the card. I don't really understand why. But the more I think about it, I think it's just because a lot of like more casual fans see two really big boys out there, you know, and they want to watch for that. So maybe towards the guys that aren't watching the early prelims or the prelims, you know, they want to see two big boys throw down. So I guess this is kind of what we've got. But Baudot, I don't really think he's got a good grappling game in my opinion. I think he's more of a striker, and even then, you know, I think he lost to Nascimento, but Nascimento was on the sauce. He lost to Parker Porter by decision, but I think he looked a little bit better than Josh Parisian did when he lost to Parker Porter. Where is it there? And yeah, he got knocked out by Tom Aspinall. But that happens, you know. That's Tom Aspinall, you know what I mean. But Josh Parisian has one win in the UFC. It's a split decision win over Roque Martinez, which is the biggest red flag I've ever seen. I don't know why I still sided with Josh Parisian when I saw that. Even in the early predictions, I was siding with Parisian, but I've got to go with Baudot, and I think that the UFC is really hoping that Baudot wins this one here, because if he wins, and he wins without taking too much damage, they can turn him around in September, and in September, that is when the French card is, so they're probably wanting Alan Baudot to win this one, so he can fight on the Paris card, and alongside Tsarukyan, who I believe might be his teammate as well, because he's training at the MMA Factory, but Josh Parisian, hasn't really shown anything to impress me, really. Alan Baudot, kind of the same thing. Not gonna lie, like he came into the UFC off a win by DQ. Yeah, like two guys. It's just low level heavyweight MMA. It really is. I'm gonna go with Baudot. You can't be confident though. You really can't be confident in this fight, in my opinion. I don't really know what else to say. I don't have much to say about this fight. It's hard to pick, but Parisian, I mean, I guess he's a big boy. Baudot's a pretty big boy as well, but he's somewhat more in shape than Parisian is, so I guess he's got that going for him. But hey, Baudot's the pick. Not confident at all, but if Baudot wins, they're going to put him on the Paris card. So hopefully he does get the win, so the UFC can give him that opportunity. So that's cool. And in the co-main event, we've got Neil Magny versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, and to be honest, a lot of this prediction is being based off the last fight of Neil Magny. You know, he got knocked down and almost finished by Max Griffin in the first round, and if you give that opportunity to Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's taking you out, man. Like he's finishing you, he's knocking you out, or he's submitting you. Like Shavkat Rakhmonov is that prospect, you know. He's that guy that people have been comparing to Khamzat Chimaev. He's that guy that people have been comparing to other huge prospects I can't think of. God damn it, slipped my Islam Makhachev, I guess. We'll just throw that name out there. But anyway, our point is, I'm getting sidetracked. I do think that Shavkat Rakhmonov should win this fight. I think he's got a slight striking advantage here. Like, Neil Magny's always had a crazy height and a crazy range for welterweight, but just never really been able to be utilised. He always ends up in sort of weird sort of situations, and Shavkat Rakhmonov really good at finding their range. I mean, he knocked out Carlston Harris with a spinning hook kick, which is sick. He beat Mikhail Prazeres by submission about a year ago. Beat Alex Oliveira in his debut. Like, And even then, he's fighting good guys. Like, he doesn't have a padded 15-0 record. He's fought good guys. And Neil Magny, he's a savage. He'll fight anyone. He fought Max Griffin, who was unranked at the time, and he was pretty highly ranked. He gave Max Griffin that opportunity. He beat Jeff Neal, which is a good win, a really good win, actually. Lost to Michael Chiesa, though. Michael Chiesa's lost a couple of fights since then. Beat up Robbie Lawler pretty bad, to be fair. But, I mean, the thing is, I like Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think everyone likes Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's a really good prospect. He's a really good guy to get behind. Striking advantage probably does go Shavkat. I mean, I feel like he might just be a little bit better everywhere. Making those, he's experienced, he's game, he's been there. He wants to fight Khamzat Chimaev. He's put his hand up to fight Khamzat Chimaev so many times. Unfortunately, he never got that opportunity. But I don't think he would have won that one anyway. So he's got Shavkat Rakhmonov, who has been compared to Khamzat Chimaev. So let's go. Shavkat Rakhmonov, I do believe he is going to beat Neil Magny inside the distance too, by knockout or submission. I'm going to go with knockout in this one here, just because Magny did get dropped and almost finished by Max Griffin. And Max Griffin's good, but the truth is Max Griffin isn't anything like super special like Shavkat Rakhmonov is. So I'm going to go Shavkat Rakhmonov by finish, probably by knockout as well, in the second round. I'll go with second round here. And in the main event, we've got a 5-round fight between Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot. This was going to be originally a super stacked card, and this was going to be the co-main event, but a few weeks ago they bumped it up. It's now the main event, and it's a really good spotlight for two guys that really are game fighters. Arman Tsarukyan, in my opinion, the future of the lightweight division. The guy come in on his UFC debut, super young, super green a few years ago. I mean, he would have been probably like 22, 21 years old, and he fought Islam Makhachev on short notice, went the distance, and put on a pretty good performance, and he really showed up to that fight, and since then he's gone on a really good win streak, 5-fight win streak, because he was 13-1 at the time. Beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier by decision, beat David Ramos by decision, Matt Frivola decision. Christos Giagos, he finished him by knockout, and then he also beat the crap out of Yoel Alvarez with really scary ground and pound. And I think he's probably going to do something similar to Mateusz Gamrot. But Mateusz Gamrot has also put on some pretty impressive performances in the UFC. On short notice, he fought Guram Kutateladze. I believe Guram Kutateladze was the short notice replacement for that one there. And lost a split decision there. In my opinion, he should have won. But after watching it a few times, because Guram fought last week, I have seen it a couple of times now, there's an argument to be made, so I'm not really too upset about it anymore. But Scott Holtzman beat him up, knocked him out, beat Jeremy Stevens in the first minute of the fight, I believe, took him down immediately, submitted him immediately, ended his UFC run, really. Beat Diego Ferreira as well recently, but Diego Ferreira, before that though, he was having success because he actually need Diego Ferreira in the rib and broke his rib, and that's when Diego Ferreira ended it. But Ferreira was having success. He was having success against Gamrot. He was winning that fight. Oh, I don't know if he's winning, but there's arguments. Ignore what I said, but the point is, Ferreira was beating up Gamrot, you know what I mean? Arman Tsarukyan, though, he's looked pretty unstoppable at times, especially in that Yoel Alvarez fight. That was a massive test for him, and he took it, man. He took it. He took it with both hands, and he managed to leg kick Yoel Alvarez out, took his legs out from under him, ended up on top of him in the first round, ground and pounded him out brutally in the second round, and ended up finishing the fight. Yoel Alvarez was a bloody mess though, and he's a big weight bully too. And Yoel Alvarez was 6'3", and Arman Tsarukyan is 5'7". Like that's crazy, Like he was a lot smaller in the cage than Yoel Alvarez was, and he did that to him. But yeah, I like Arman, man. I really do like Arman Tsarukyan as a fighter. He's only 25 years old as well, which I think is so crazy to me. The future of lightweight division, 110%. It's not Islam Makhachev, it's Arman Tsarukyan, because he's so young. Islam Makhachev's getting up there in age, he's only got a few years to go, but Arman Tsarukyan, potentially, we could see this guy in his peak performance for another 7 years, and we could see him in the UFC for another 10 years, potentially, as well. Like, this guy is something special, and when you see something special like that, you've got to go with Tsarukyan. Gamrot, though, he's good. He's going to be live in the first 2 rounds, in my opinion. But I don't see him having much success after that. He does seem to slow down a bit in the third round. He is showing to slow down in the third round a little bit. And Tsarukyan's got good cardio. I haven't seen him slow down in his most recent fight. So I think that if the fight go 5 rounds, it will be Tsarukyan winning. But I see a finish. I see a ground and pound finish later on, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th round for Arman Tsarukyan over a gassed out Mateusz Gamrot. Give me Arman Tsarukyan all day. Bigger favourite than maybe you should be. -260 is a little bit wide. Maybe that's just a big I don't know, it's not even an overcorrection because Arman Tsarukyan was a favourite against Yoel Alvarez as well, but maybe everyone's just this hyped up on Arman that he's this big of a favourite. So maybe there's a dog picking Gamrot out there that makes a bit of sense, but you've got to go with Arman in my opinion. He's just such a good prospect. He's the guy to look out for. I'm going with Arman Tsarukyan.